Breaking news. Donald Trump has announced a class action lawsuit against the CEOs at Facebook, Twitter, and Google for censorship. Not a surprise that this was going to happen. This was just recently announced. If you're watching this video on the Wednesday that this happened, this is just literally, really, truly breaking news at the moment. Even the overseas papers are starting to pick this up. Major media, I haven't seen anything on the major media other than Newsmax at the moment. Not surprised, because basically a lot has been going on in the last couple of days and couple weeks. I mean, you have situations, and this was bound to happen. You have the Houston lawsuit against Facebook on sex trafficking, which basically has been given a green light to go. Facebook thought that they had protections behind 230, and a judge decided, no, that's not going to happen in this particular case. We had the country of Nigeria ban Twitter for censoring the president of the country. We also had India, just about a day ago, had told Twitter that they're not going to be immune in their country. In other words, basically, their version of 230, Twitter cannot use to defend themselves in India. Then we also had the Project Veritas situation where social media was trying, I think it was Twitter, was trying to change the venue of the lawsuit to favor them. They're trying to move it to California, but a judge denied that as well. We're seeing this all across the board. Whether you're just an individual, whether you're a YouTuber, a small channel, large channel, we've all been censored one way or another on these platforms constantly. This channel, QTCast Television, we started out, we were monetized originally when we first started. Then they changed the rules. They kept changing the rules. We came out of monetization. It's ridiculous, and we're shadow banned. Whatever subject title we've put in, there are days we gain ahead where we're good on views, and then suddenly the views completely disappear. Back and forth, we've been playing it. And we know this because basically we've tried this on other social media platforms. We have a channel on BitChute. We have a channel on ODYSEE. BitChute does very well for me. Some people it doesn't. It does very well for me. And I almost triple my views on BitChute for the same title. Why? Because it's not shadow banned. Now, I'm not certain how many people are on BitChute. I know there's a good amount of people out there, that they're just now finding my channel. My subscriptions are going up, not as fast as I would want them, but I still have views. And you, my viewer, you've seen mostly what I talk about. I talk about anime. I talk about comic books. These are the situations, movies, Saturday pre-flight, we talk about classic television, stuff like that. What is that harming? What is that harming? It's because they don't want us talking about certain things. They want to keep control of the narratives of the situations. Heel versus Babyface was tossed off Twitter for just mentioning a line in a TV series. A line in a TV series. How ridiculous is that? And you have others that have gone through the same thing. You had a YouTube channel was shut down because he was attacked by bots, and YouTube thought it was him. Didn't give him the chance. They just took him off monetization. Didn't give him any, whatsoever. And there's many other YouTubers that have gone through the same thing. These social media platforms need to understand is that, especially when you're in certain countries, especially when you're in the United States, we do have, freedom of speech in this country. You can't sit there and start calling everything racist, hate speech. Because according to the Supreme Court in this country, there is no such thing as hate speech. No matter what anybody tells you, there is judicial presence that basically hate speech does not exist in this country. Do you know why? Because basically you start calling, and this is what's happening, everybody's calling everything hate speech. It's like saying, well, I'm a Yankee fan and a Mets fan, I hate the Mets. Oh, that's hate speech. You say, well, that's kind of going to the extreme. No, it's not going to the extreme, because they're basically, there are a lot of YouTubers out there being accused of hate speech for just not liking the current Marvel comics and DC comics, not liking the product Disney's putting out in Star Wars, in the Marvel Universe. You have people like saying, well, if you don't like our movie, just don't buy it, or just don't buy, go to the movies, don't buy the book, and they said, oh, that's, hate speech, that's the mob and stuff like that. But meanwhile, you have people accusing people of ropping, if you understand what I meant by that, because unfortunately, if I say the full on there, but let's say sexual abuse of people without any evidence. And as we've known in the tale of Vic Mignogna, he got fired for that. He got fired for accusations. Do you understand? Accusations without merit. Okay? And then many other people that have been down that rabbit hole. And then, of course, they said, well, we're racist and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the biggest racists in the world are still on Facebook, and they're on Twitter, and we're talking like the Shah of Iran, who's spewing out anti-Jewish rhetoric. And then you have, ISIS, and you have other terrorist groups on here. Then you have you have the pornography, you have the child trafficking. I mean, we can go through on a list on and on and on. And that's not even getting into trying to get companies like Parler and BitChute and Odyssey out of business because they don't want the competition. That's even another issue in itself. Take it, let's put it this way, take it from a liberal himself, a lawyer that has had many great cases. We discussed one here, well, actually on BitChute, because I can't place that one here. Let's let him describe.
This is a very, very important lawsuit. What's going on with high tech is unacceptable. It's inconsistent with the spirit of free speech that underlies our First Amendment. This is a complicated case because, as the president pointed out, and as Pam Bondi pointed out, and as the others pointed out, these are not just ordinary private companies. They have special exemptions under Section 230, and therefore they partake of some kind of government action. And the courts will have to parse this issue. How much of what they do is private? How much of what they do partakes of being public? What we don't want is the government telling private companies what they can say and what they can do. That would be wrong. But we don't want these quasi-public, enormous monopolistic companies to be restricting our free speech. The current situation is unacceptable. And this lawsuit, I think, will shake things up considerably, though I can't predict in the end how it will come out.
And Dershowitz is right. He is absolutely correct. These companies have gotten too big for their bridges. And, when you're censoring for the most stupidest things. I've seen, people say, well, they got Section 230. No. You're either a platform or a publisher. That is what the rule says. Platform or publisher. They twist the rules to their favor. This is where they make their money. But meanwhile, they complain, well, we've lost this much money in YouTube and stuff like that. Yeah, do you know why? You know why? Because you allow people to control what's going on. You have people in your company that is controlling the narrative. Okay, this is like a couple of, like, Spotify and a couple other things. If you're working for a company, you cannot overstep your bounds of your job. No matter what anybody tells you. The boss tell you don't do that, you don't do that. But see, unfortunately, some of these radicals, social justice warriors, they've crept into these businesses and are destroying. They're destroying cities. We're seeing what's going on in San Francisco because of Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is one of the reasons on there, because this is what it is. It's, like the old song, money, money, money by the pound, quoting an old Disney flick. And if you go back and forth and you look and see, like, India is like, we're tired of this shit with you, Twitter. That's it. You're done. Nigeria immediately on there. And I'll tell you, the lawsuits that, things that happen in Australia where they, like, says, well, we'll leave if you don't deal with us. And Australia was like, see you, don't want to be you. So these things are piling up one after another, and it's going to get to the point. It's going to get to a point where it's going to crash some of these companies. Jack Dorsey is like the biggest one of them all. Jack Dorsey, you need to go. You need to go. I mean, this guy, this is the Unabomber. I mean, the way he's looking like lately, you see his looks lately, it's amazing. The guy is turning into a nightmare in itself. Next thing you know, they'll have a horror film based on him. Oh, Jesus. So, we're going to be seeing what happens next on this. And you might say to yourself, well, I don't like Trump, and, why is he... let me tell you something. Maybe it takes someone like him to do this. Whether you like him or you don't like him. You don't have to like him for him to do something that is right. And this is what's right. Because basically, these companies have had control over us for too long. If I can't sit here and discuss a movie review of a movie that I dislike, that's something wrong. That is totally something wrong. I can't talk to somebody and say, hey, this movie really sucks. And this is why. And this is what happened. You had a video game, The Last of Us, fuck Naughty Dog, that tried to get people banned. They tried to, throw... I mean, we're not even getting into the part where the fake copyright strikes issue. I've had one or two of those. It gets ridiculous. It gets ridiculous with all this. And the thing about it is, including the fair use violations, they think, these companies thinking, well, we're taking 15 seconds of a particular video. They think it was stealing the whole 2-hour movie. It is fair use if we're discussing it. They don't want this for us to discuss it. What happened to the days when they said that basically, there's no such thing as bad reviews? That basically, whether it's a good review, bad review, hey, we'd rather take it. Because people are going to sit there and they said, it's really bad. I got to see why it's so really bad. You know who had it great this week, in these last 2 weeks, is Double Toasted, which they've been having their issues with YouTube. They put out they have a section where they talk about bad movies, and they were talking about Battlefield Earth. If you remember that movie with John Travolta. How bad is that movie? Really, truly. They made it fun to watch when discussing it. They're going into a third part of it. The movie is so ridiculous, they have to do 3 parts. They just put up part 2 this week. Part 3 is probably going to come out next week. And they were having fun with it. It was hysterical. And there's plenty of this all over YouTube. See, YouTube was made for the independent producers. It's just like public access television. But now what it's turned into is you have the networks, you have the corporations, they're moving in, trying to take everything over. They basically, if you, an independent viewer, don't like it, you get your review removed. You get your comments removed from the comments line. So, well, I don't like it. Click, it's gone. Because they think they're going to make money off of this. They think, oh, we got good. If we have bad reviews, we're not going to make any money. If you are adjusting your comments, if you're hiding what people think of you, you deserve what you get. So we'll see what goes on next with this lawsuit. How far is it going to go? Who's going to be involved in it? We already know Dershowitz has given testimony to it. He's filed an affidavit. There's probably going to be many others on there. So don't forget to hit that comment, hit that subscribe, like, share. I would suggest subscribe to Ricada Law and a couple other lawyers because they're going to be covering this extensively as this happens. And also subscribe to Project Veritas because they got their 2 lawsuits between Twitter and also the New York Times coming up as well. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye now.
Have you any idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer? Successful, isn't it?